So how would you compare playing in Atlanta to playing in another big city in the United States or anywhere else?
Well, Atlanta poses some problems because it's geographically spread over such a wide distances. I grew up in New York, where when I was a child in Manhattan, we didn't have a car. Because you didn't need one, you didn't want one. It was too difficult to park, and so we subwayed and bused and taxied everywhere when I was a child. And the way those older northern cities are set up, they don't build in terms of horizontal, they build vertically. In other words, they have these skyscrapers and these tall buildings. So if you didn't like a restaurant or jazz club or whatever it is on one block, you could walk another block and find another club. So everything is more logically located and easy to get around. Atlanta is more difficult, as in many of the modern southern cities are built horizontally. So if I, downtown, or if I'm in Marietta, it means I got to drive a half an hour to get to town. So, and there's no public transportation really to speak of. So it poses some problems that way. I prefer, big northern cities for music, for good reason. New York has a great jazz tradition, so does Chicago, Philadelphia. Those cities are really set up for that. Atlanta is a newer city and doesn't have such a great jazz tradition, although in the 30s and 40s on Auburn Avenue, there was a great music tradition, but that has really since dried up, and that doesn't exist anymore, except for in stories from some of the older musicians. I love to hear those stories about those great clubs down on Auburn. But that's gone, and it's not coming back. So we have other ways to perform, and as purveyors of music, and the universities really pick up where the clubs left off, 40 or 50 years ago. So you can hear great jazz music in many of the universities around the country, and especially here at Georgia State. So, we've kind of assumed a responsibility as teachers and universities to pick up where the clubs have disappeared. And in the city of Atlanta, there are a number of places you can go to hear music. Down on Peter Street, there's a couple of new clubs. They're very nice. Churchill Grounds, some places in Roswell, and a couple down in a little 5 Points, 5 Spot. So you can find, you got to look, but there are places where you can hear music and as an active performer go out and play. But it's not so easy to be a jazz musician in the city of Atlanta. You have to do a lot of different things in order to make a living as a musician, especially as a jazz musician, because face it, jazz music really only makes up that 2% of the music market. So you do the math.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that perspective. Will you be playing in Atlanta anytime soon?
Yeah, I play regularly in the city. Much of the work that I do is corporate. So that sounds kind of funny, but many of the big name acts and comedians and whatever do a lot of, like, for instance, there'd be an insurance convention, and they'll have a show, and I used to remember to play for Ray Charles all the time, and I'd play these shows for these big corporations, and they're not open to the public, so I do a lot of that kind of work. I play in clubs occasionally. As I'm getting older, I leave that to the younger musicians, but I'm playing this Friday at the Jazz at the High Museum, which is a wonderful venue, and they have live music there. I believe once a month they bring in nationally known jazz artists, so I'm there with my quintet this Friday, and occasionally I'll play in some clubs at Churchill Grounds, maybe at the 5 Spot, but most of the work that I do is playing concerts here at State or around the Southeast, and of course I go out of the country and do a lot of performing. But the 16th of this month at the High Museum will be a great time to hear me with my group.
That would be great. I would love to go do that. So do you have a website or MySpace where people can find out more about you?
Absolutely. I have a website, gordonvernick.com. You should be able to find it. And I got clips, some from my latest CD, some reviews, pictures, and overviews of many different programs I'm involved with at Georgia, things with Georgia State, young audiences, and me with all these, all the performances with the kids. So it's a pretty good website, and having a website, it takes a lot. You have to keep updating it. And so I'll kind of forget about it for like weeks at a time. I need to list some of these new performances coming up. So you can find out a lot. It's got pictures and music and quotes and the usual usual stuff.
All right, GordonVernick.com. All right. So
One real important thing. I have a radio show.
Oh.
And between all the other things I do, don't have enough time. So I do a radio show at WMLB 1690 AM here in Atlanta, and the show airs on Thursdays, I believe, at 8:30, 12:30, and 6:30 p.m. And it's a jazz commentary show. I pick a subject and play recordings and do like a mini lecture. It's a lot of fun. I've been doing this show since May and getting a lot of really good feedback. The latest show is this 4-part series on cool jazz, starting with Miles Davis and Dave Brubeck. And hopefully it's an educational, but it's also a really fun show. So in addition to all other things, I'm also doing that.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, well, remember to tune in. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad you could be listening today, Dr. Vernick. This has been Megan for BestOfAtlantaConcerts.com. Thank you for listening to Artist Talk, and please remember to check out and join our partner site, Friends of Local Atlanta Music.